Hi, this is Julie with Beadaholique, and today I want to show you one of my favorite projects. It is making a faux druzy ring, which is what this is here, and we're going to make it using a product called Crystal Splash. I put some just in a tin here so I can keep track of it. I'll spread a few on my mat. Basically, they're wonderful crystals without holes in them. They are all the same shape, but they're different sizes, and some even are matte finish, which really lends itself to this project. You're also going to need a bezel ring setting. I've chosen a teardrop right here. You see I've done it in a square. I've also done it in a round. And then I want mine to look like amethyst. So I've taken some dark purple crystal clay and I'm going to mix it up and then add it to my ring setting. So on Beadaholique, we have a full video showing you exactly how to use crystal clay and mix it up. So we're going to fast forward through this part of the project here. But if you want more information, do check out that video. I've got my gloves on. I'm just going to go to town here and mix up my crystal clay, and then we'll resume the project. My crystal clay is all mixed up and ready to go. I'm going to take off my gloves at this point, just so I have a little bit more control over the clay. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to roll it into a shape which mimics my bezel setting. So if you had a square, you'd roll it into a square shape. If you've got this teardrop, I'm going to roll it into a teardrop shape. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just is going to make my life a little bit easier when I set the clay down into the bezel. So now that I've got my shape, I'm going to just go ahead and tap it down into the setting. And you know what? I can already tell I have got way too much clay here. So I'm going to pull that right back out, pinch off a little bit. Now, this has already been mixed, so it's not going to stay soft. So if you have another project you're working on, you might want to go ahead and use that. You've got about an hour to an hour and a half after you mix your part A and part B before it hardens. It's not going to be usable anymore. All right, I am much happier with that amount. So I am going to go ahead and set this down into it. I'm just pushing it so it gets to the edges. I don't want it to go over the edge. So if you're not familiar with what a druzy is a fine coating of crystal on a rock surface. So if you've ever seen a geode and it's been cracked open, it's all rough and dirty on the outside, but inside it's beautiful with sparkling crystals, that is a druzy. You'll often see them made into jewelry. All right, so I've got my clay. Now I've got my tin here with my crystal splash in it, and my clay is stuck into my bezel because it is sticky. I am just going to go ahead and press my ring face down into my pile of crystals because I want it to be assorted. So after I pick up some, I don't want to have any sense of order to this. I want it to be nice and random. And I'm pushing them in. I'm going to do that again to hopefully pick up a few more. And now I'm pushing them in and I'm actually feeling the clay move a little, which is what I want. Because with crystal clay, you need to make sure that the edge of the crystal is slightly under the surface of the clay. So if these were just barely hanging onto the clay, they wouldn't stay actually after this is fully hardened. So now what I want to do is I want to fill in any gaps that I see. At this point, I can actually choose the size I want to use. And this is why it's so nice that this crystal splash comes in an assortment of sizes, because you can just find ones that work. I'll spread out a little bit more, just so I can find the right sizes. Again, with this particular project, you want that clay to shift. You want some of these to slip under the edge, even be partially buried. Otherwise, it's just not going to grip in the long run. I'm just going all the way around, seeing where there's a gap, and pushing a crystal into it. And you want these to be poking out and being in all directions and sideways and upside down. You want that randomness. All right. Once I'm happy that all my gaps are filled in, I'm going to go ahead and again press down on top of it. The clay is going to shift. That's okay. I want it to do that. I want it to grab these crystals. And I'm going to make sure that when I'm done, it has a nice arc to it. There's not one side which is terribly lopsided, although with this particular design, that would be totally fine. Because with an actual druzy, it would be irregular. So that's totally fine if one side is bulging and the other is a little bit concave. There we go, and I'm happy with that. So there we have a faux druzy ring made using 2-part epoxy clay and crystal splash.